This video is brought to you by Temu. Temu has all kinds of items you can shop for, from shoes, clothing, and anything for your home. Click the link in the description to get a $100 coupon bundle for new users who download the app. Spike and Jet are bounty hunters in this post-apocalyptic world with spaceships and interplanetary travel. They pick up Asimov Solon as their next target, and as Spike complains about dinner, Jet reminds him of how much damage he'd caused them on their last mission. Apparently, Asimov had killed all his teammates and made a run for it. He's rumored to have shacked up with his lady in Tijuana. Spike doesn't feel like the mission even after finding out the bounty is 2.5 million wulongs. Jet manages to convince him by telling him that the beef in Tijuana is tasty. They arrive in Tijuana airspace, and Spike uses his monocarrier to enter town. Meanwhile, Asimov and his pregnant wife step into a bar. He flashes Red Eye, a drug capable of multiplying your strength tenfold, at the barkeep, and both men meet behind closed doors. The barkeep asks Asimov to prove the efficacy of the drug, and he applies it on himself. As the drug kicks in, some bandits break into the restaurant and fire at will. A welcome opportunity for Asimov to prove himself, he easily maneuvers his way around the bullets and kills the bandits with his bare hands. On the flip side, Spike gets his fate read. The shaman tells him to visit the north side of town and makes mention of a woman who will be the cause of his death. Jet visits what's left of the bar, and as he's having a drink, gets interrupted by two of Asimov's former teammates. He knocks one of them out and uses the other for information. Just like the shaman said, Spike bumps into Asimov's wife right after crossing paths with Asimov himself. They get to flirting after, but she quickly realizes he's a bounty hunter. Asimov almost strangles Spike to death, but his wife stops him. He's quick enough to swipe the red eye in Asimov's pocket. Jet meets Spike on the floor. He'd given up on the chase until Spike presents him with new information about Asimov going to Mars. Spike pretends to be a buyer for Red Eye and meets up with Asimov. Immediately, the culprit discovers this. He tackles him, but Spike beats the shit out of him. That's until bullets begin to fly. Spike manages to take cover until Jet intervenes. Unfortunately, Asimov and his wife manage to escape during the ruckus. Spike chases after them in his monocarrier. The agitation gets to Asimov, and he tries using another dose of Red Eye, alt in his wife's devastation. As she sees that they're approaching a horde of officers, she gives up on Mars and shoots Asimov in the head. By the time Spike notices this, the horde of officers are firing multiple bullets at Asimov's wife. It turns out she's not pregnant but hoarded all the Red Eye samples in a pouch on her stomach. Seeing as Jet and Spike weren't responsible for Asimov's death, they get no bounty. Abdul Hakim, pet thief extraordinaire, escapes with a test animal from a research facility and has been bestowed a bounty of 8 million wulongs. The doctor who'd carried out Hakim's plastic surgery calls Spike, offering him information on what Hakim currently looks like and the suitcase he's carrying. Apparently, the thief had done in the doctor, and he wants revenge for it. Hakim stops to get a drink, and as he's distracted, gets his suitcase stolen. Stealing from a thief, that's pretty ironic. Following the doctor's tips, Spike goes into town searching for shady stores to trade animals. A bootleg antique shop owner tells him to visit a store called Animal Treasure. Spike tracks down the thief, mistaking him for Hakim. He tells the lady at Animal Treasure to open the case, and they're all surprised to see a dog. She deceives Spike of its worth, and he leaves the store. Mere seconds later, Hakim shows up at the store. The dog attacks him, and he fires his gun. It becomes a debacle. As Hakim chases after the dog, Spike chases after Hakim, and security guards from the research company chase after both Hakim and the dog. Spike comes face to face with Hakim on a bridge. They fight it out until the dog jumps off the bridge. Hakim jumps after it, and Spike follows suit. Luckily, the dog sticks with Spike, and Hakim gets taken away on the boat he passed out in. Spike takes the critter back to the ship, but doesn't like it one bit. Jet is the exact opposite. He pets the dog, telling Spike that it's a Welsh corgi and that its owner is worth a lot of money. Hakim, who had set up a meeting to deliver the dog, tries to postpone it after the incident, but his buyer disagrees, pissing him off even more. Meanwhile, Spike walks the dog in a bid to lure out Hakim, but the research company activates an advanced doggy whistle which lures the corgi to them instead. As a result, many other dogs chase after their vehicle too. Spike pursues the corgi, but Hakim thinks smart and steals a car to use. He catches the dog first and knocks it out. Spike makes a comeback as he chases Hakim with his monocarrier, beating down on his car from above. The corgi somehow gets the car doors to open and jumps out, leaving Hakim and the researchers to fall off the bridge. Luckily, Spike moves fast enough to save the dog before it hits the water. Later on, the news reveals that the corgi is in fact a data dog, super intelligent for its species and goes for millions in the right market. Hakim gets arrested alongside the researchers for illegal animal testing, but none of the authorities know the whereabouts of the corgi, a corgi sitting safe with Spike and Jet. Poker Alice, a legendary gambler, spells nothing but trouble as she brings bandits to a stranger's doorstep. They shoot up the place, and despite her efforts, she gets captured. She's taken to a casino spaceship, where she meets with Gordon, their boss. He gives her two options, to either work for him or get handed over to the police. Coincidentally, Spike and Jet happen to be on the same spaceship as Alice. Jet dresses up weird, but hopes to make a fortune. He begs Spike not to win too much so they don't get kicked out. Alice had instructions from Gordon to wait for a man with an uncanny resemblance to Spike to sit at the blackjack table and clear out all his chips up until the dealer's chip. True to his word, Spike chooses to play blackjack, but Alice mistakes him for the target. So when he doesn't drop his dealer's chip, Alice goes after him. Spike bumps into the actual target, and their dealer's chips get exchanged. He's super confused when Alice approaches him with talk about a deal and shouts that she's been cheating. This draws everyone's attention, including the guards. They try to take down Spike, but it's like practice for him the way he beats them all up. Alice, on the other hand, activates her monocarrier remotely and has it break into the casino. She gets in to escape and finds Spike and Jet on her ship, also trying to escape. The target gets the beating of his life for bringing the wrong chip. Apparently, it contains sensitive information that shouldn't reach the cops. Back on the Bebop, Alice gets handcuffed to a pipe as thanks for helping them out. She goes on about the chip meaning a lot to Gordon, but both men can't relate. Spike coughs up the chip and Jet examines it. He then discovers its true nature. A certain Faye Valentine pops up on TV with a bounty of 6 million. She's in fact Poker Alice. Faye manages to send word of her location to Gordon but pretends to be innocent when Spike and Jet approach her. Gordon blocks the Bebop as he requests for the chip back. Jet tells him about it being a magic key and requests 30 million for it. Gordon reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, Faye unlocks her cuffs and stealthily patrols the Bebop. For the exchange, Spike wears a spacesuit and meets Gordon's man on the bridge. Gordon's man tries to double-cross Spike, but he's too fast. He dodges the bullets and unlocks his opponent's magnetic lock, sending him flying into space. Amidst the ruckus, Jet witnesses Faye fly away on her monocarrier. She stops by to steal the exchange money and gets attacked by Gordon's ship. Faye maneuvers her way out of the missiles and sends back her own, damaging Gordon's ship in the process. Jet and Spike accept the loss and head for a casino to use the last chip. It's funny how Faye runs away but ends up running out of gas in the middle of space. Despite all her efforts to call for help, no one answers her. Jet and Spike make their way to Ganymede in search of Morgan, their next bounty. He'd changed his face, but Jet has the technology to see through it. As they await a chance to nab him, some lady and her son surround Morgan, all because he plans to eat the Ganymede sea rat. Before he can finish chewing his food, they spray bullets his way, killing him and all the girls around him. They later reveal themselves to be preservers of the environment called the Space Warriors. Jet racks his brain and finally remembers that the lady leading the group is worth 25 million in bounty money. This makes Spike stop her at gunpoint, sending all of her sons away. Faye, on the other hand, tries to rescue a man from a shipwreck. His last words are for her to deliver a package to ISSP, begging her never to open it. Jet does some digging and discovers that Twinkle Maria Murdoch is their hostage's name, and somehow Jet can't find any records of her having a bounty. The spaceman had begged Faye in vain because the first thing she does after getting back to her monocarrier is open the briefcase. Apparently, Twinkle's sons blackmail the Ganymede government into scrubbing their mother's record and even make them search for her. As Jet and Spike are doing recon on Twinkle, an SOS comes through. Both men immediately recognize Faye's voice, but let her bicker for help. They take her in, but handcuff her hands above her head this time. She'd come back broke. Much to Spike's surprise, he notices the package Faye was asked to deliver, but has no idea what it is. It seems like Twinkle knows because she flinches anytime Spike plays with it. Jet's source reveals that Twinkle's sons had threatened to release a virus called Monkey Business, and the man from the shipwreck was in fact a government spy. Spike shoots the package as Jet comes by to release Twinkle. Her sons come by later, and they give her to them. Twinkle is pissed because the government didn't do exactly as she said, and releases a missile heading straight for Ganymede. Word reaches the Bebop, and Spike goes after Twinkle's ship immediately. Meanwhile, Faye manages to escape again. She even steals gas from the Bebop. Spike manages to enter hyperspace. Using his laser beam, he destroys 2 of 3 missiles. The third blows past him and he cannot redirect in time. Faye offers to destroy it if they'll give her 60% of their earnings, and they agree. She chases after the missile, only for it to split into multiple warheads. The government immediately begins to close the gate leading to hyperspace, making it a race against time for Faye and Spike. They barely make it out, but they do, leaving Twinkle and all her warheads inactive in hyperspace. Unfortunately, Faye makes herself at home aboard the Bebop. The Red Dragon and White Tiger syndicates finally bury the hatchet after years of rivalry, but Vicious betrays the syndicate and kills the precedents of both groups. Mao Yenrai, worth 28 million wulongs in bounty, also precedent of the Red Dragon, gets accused of murdering a member of an opposing syndicate. Jet is interested in taking the gig, and he asks Spike to join him, but Spike falls quiet. No matter how hard Jet tries, Spike says nothing on the matter. Just as Faye is returning to the Bebop, Spike takes a ride on his monocarrier. A job then comes through for Jet, but he's not around to accept it, and so Faye steals the chance. She arrives at an opera house under false pretenses, and finds her way to Mao Yenrai's seat, only for her to be placed at gunpoint. On the other hand, Spike visits Annie, an old friend who could have sworn that he's dead. She takes her sweet time coming to terms with him being alive and can tell from the start that he needs information. Annie shivers when Spike asks what happened to Mao Yenrai. Back at the opera, Faye's cover gets blown easily. She's seated between Vicious and Mao's corpse. Annie fills Spike in on everything and begs him not to fight Vicious, not again. She's quite certain that Spike will not listen, and true to her words, he goes back to the Bebop to ready some bullets and grenades, many enough for a small war. Just then, Faye appears on their radar, all tied up and taken hostage. Jet almost abandons her because of her betrayal, but Spike asks for the location to come save her. Vicious directs him to an old abandoned church, and Spike shows up ready. They bring out Faye with a gun to her head. Asking Spike to drop his, he shoots the bandit instead and starts a frantic shootout. Under the heady fire, Faye manages to escape, and Spike gets a belly shot. He then comes face to face with Vicious. Outside, Faye calls Jet for help, but he's reluctant to give it. Inside, Vicious has a sword to Spike's heart, and Spike has a gun to his. Vicious slashes Spike's chest, and Spike shoots his shoulder. He then throws Spike from the church's bell tower, but not before Spike can detonate a grenade. As he falls to the ground, Spike reminisces on the good times he'd shared with Vicious, how they'd fought side by side, and even how Vicious had tried to kill him the first time. He barely survives, but after 3 days under, Spike wakes up bandaged head to toe. He makes it a point to tell Faye how tone-deaf she is, and the ruckus tells Jet that his friend is going to be fine. After a young boy serenades the audience with blues harp music, Jet and Spike scope out their next target. His name's Giraffe, and he has a 3 million wulong bounty on his head. Thaddy River, another bounty hunter, seems like he'd be a problem, so Jet keeps him distracted while Spike goes after Giraffe. The weird thing is that Giraffe seems to be going after the unwad who'd serenaded the bar, following him and his guardian through town, up until their hotel room. Spike follows them with his monocarrier, but when he arrives at the hotel, Giraffe had already been pushed from the top of the building. He rushes to Giraffe's rescue, only to meet that he'd been shot. His last words to Spike are a warning, begging him to help someone, and for him to not be deceived by how said someone looks. It's all the more cryptic when Giraffe hands him a ring before dying. Jet tries to analyze it, but comes up with nothing. He then hands Faye an invoice, stating all the expenses she'd racked up while in their ship. Jet meets up with Fatty River, who informs him that Giraffe had been after Zebra, the father to Win, the harp-playing kid. Apparently, Giraffe and Zebra were comrades. They'd gone after a certain facility but got separated. Since then, Zebra hasn't been the same, and it worried Giraffe greatly. Spike tracks down Zebra and Wen to a warehouse and asks Wen to come to him. Unfortunately, Wen shoots the gun out of Spike's hand, telling him that he's not a kid. Back on the Bebop, Jet and Faye come across an article 30 years old with Wen having the same face in it. Since the first explosion of Hyperspace Gate, Wen hasn't aged or even faced death. Zebra had only been useful to stop people from asking too many questions. Spike then realizes that Giraffe meant for him to save Zebra, and not Wen. A shootout ensues after Wen asks Spike for the ring. He manages to shoot the gun out of Wen's hand, but the boy, or man, throws a paraplegic Zebra as a shield. Spike shoots him in the chest, but Wen doesn't die. After taking Zebra back to the Bebop, they hook him to an alpha glitch. a machine used to see memories. In it, they see how Wen killed Giraffe and discover that the ring can bring him down. Jet helps him convert this ring into a bullet, but it's just one, and he misses, and it's over for Spike. He tracks down Wen, shooting him off the road till he explodes. As expected, Wen comes out unscathed. It's a face-off between the two of them as Wen fires 3 bullets but Spike doesn't move an inch. Wen has no idea that Spike's bullets are different and stands still when he shoots him. The bullet hits him straight in the head, and as he prepares to retaliate, his body begins to wither, up until there's nothing left of him. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button for more amazing content, and also don't forget to leave a comment on the next anime you would like for us to go over next.